Crocs, of course. What's up, everybody? So, long-awaited video. You guys knew it was only a matter of time before this was going to happen. But it was going to happen. So, the Ducati Grom is going to a flex fuel setup. When you guys watched the build video that I was doing on this back when before the bike was running, you can see I actually already set this up with a flex sensor, which you can see right there. It's just like a little square rectangular sensor. You can actually see, put the camera under there. Maybe you can't see that. But behind this panel, there's basically a ethanol flex sensor that I got from Fuel Tech. The bike has already been set up with the input to run E85 or a blend of E85 and gasoline, which I would think would be a lot more suited for the way I drive this bike, because for one, I'm definitely limited on the amount of fuel that I have. I want to say it's probably somewhere around 2 gallons or so between the rear fuel cell, which my fuel pump is mounted in, and the front fuel cell up here, which is still retaining some of the stock fuel tank. It has had quite a bit cut out of it, but it does pretty good on the street on pump 93. One thing that I actually did the other day by accident, because obviously I got the YZ running now, so I have 2 VP jugs, one right here, one over here on my lawnmower. So I wasn't paying attention the other day, and I actually, before I noticed, I actually filled the bike up with E85. It was about 1/3 of a tank that I filled it up with. And the funny part about all this is this bike, ever since the YZ has been back on the road, I really haven't touched the tune on this bike at all. So this bike has a really safe tune in it right now. That's why I was really surprised at how powerful it feels on the street. I mean, I'm sure weight comes into it as well too, because the Ducati 1199 is just a beast as it is in the stock Panigale, but even more so in this light thing. But so I filled it up with E85 by accident. Funny part is, because the tune is so rich on this, the amount of ethanol content that actually made its way in the fuel because of the mistake, it leaned my tune out quite a bit. And just from what I could see by looking at my Fuel Tech Nano Pro, it it leaned it out like perfectly. It was pretty funny. It ended up being like 28 to 30% of ethanol in the fuel, and it rolled pretty good. It still felt powerful. I didn't feel any hiccups or anything, and the AFR was like right on point. So that just kind of like pushed me to want to do this even more, because I also think it's cool too. It's like an 1199 and the Grom by itself is cool, but pulling up smelling like corn too, and everybody that knows me personally, they know I'm an advocate for E85. So I planned on doing this down the road. Unfortunately, I got to do this in my garage today because it's like super wet outside. So got to try to do this in the small amount of room that I have. But luckily, since I planned for this, my buddy over at Fuel Injector Development already got me set up with some injectors to compensate for the E85. This is the injector I use in all my builds right here. So the reason why, so these injectors that I got for this build are actually 95-pound injectors, or like around 90-ish pound, 90 to 95. So this is the stock injector that the Ducati 1199 uses right here. In the stock configuration, they actually use 2 of these per cylinder. This is an L-twin 2-cylinder engine, very large bore. It's like a 4,500 bore or something like that. Coincidentally, the same size as my billet Hemi bore size. So in the stock configuration, they actually use this right here. This is the top mount injector. And then the primary injector, see if I can get the camera under here, is right there. So let me zoom in. That's actually the injector head right there. You see that little bolt right there? Oh. So cumulative It is 90 pounds of injector. So altogether, 2 45-pound injectors per cylinder. You have the top mount right there, which are mounted in velocity stacks, which I will make a video on later because I am making some. You can kind of see the throttle body is just exposed right there, but I'm using the velocity stacks as a base to make a 3D printed part off of, so that way I can mount a ITB style air filter on the throttle bodies. But that's another video. So cumulative 90 pounds of injector, 2 per cylinder, 245 pounds per cylinder. So I took it upon myself to actually get a single 90 to 95 pound injector. I got to double check to see what size these are, by my buddy Tom Sewell over at Fuel Injector Development. So I do know that this stock Ducati Panigale 1199 is not utilizing all 90 pounds of injector. Usually they have top mount injectors because these are injectors that ramp in at the higher RPM range because there's a horsepower gain with that. So usually you get a better cooling effect. It has a lot to do with like atomization, and it's definitely a horsepower gain with it. I deleted mine because I could not fit this. And the 45-pound injectors, a single pair, based off the data that we saw from the actual pulls that I did on the street once I got the bike running and started doing watt pulls. These injectors, I would utilize all of their capacity, but they would allow me to basically make max power on a single injector. So spent a little time, and like I said, I got these right here. The extra headroom with these will allow me to run on E85, and I have really good luck with these injectors right here because I'm using the same style in my YZ450 as well. So just a few rough calculations, and you have to take these numbers with a grain of salt. This is a fuel pump calculator right here on Fuel Lab's website. So theoretically, because my bike runs 60 PSI fuel pressure, this motor is rated at about like 200 horsepower, and then the fuel type is E85. So these are the different type of power adders right here: nitrous, forced induction. I'm still NA, so let's go over to liters per hour. Theoretically, it says it should take about 98 liters per hour in order for me to make this horsepower on this fuel. So that's just a ballpark number. So don't hold me to that. That's a ballpark number. That's well within the range of the fuel pump that I actually have in this fuel cell, which is it's a 2008 to 2012 Suzuki Hayabusa 1300R fuel pump. So this pump, based off what I could find online, this pump flows, I think, 171 liters per hour. And I think it might be at 4 bar, which is like 60 PSI. 3 bar would be like 43.5. So it should be well within the range of supporting my E85 power numbers. So my bad, actually correction on that. It flows 140 liters per hour on 60 PSI, which is 4 bar, and it flows 171 liters per hour on 40 PSI or 43 PSI, which is 3 bar. So still well within range of supporting those power goals based off of this calculator. So now let's dip into the Fuel Tech software, because I want to show you guys this too. So I got the tune actually opened up right now. Please don't make fun of my map, because this does need to be smoothed out. So something that is nice on the Fuel Tech software, let me go in here, go to other functions, or actually no, you know what, I gotta go to map options because I gotta turn on the flex fuel. So let's go in here. It's pretty nice in this software too, because you can actually turn off and on certain stuff that you are or aren't using, so it doesn't clutter up the actual menu. So I actually love this. So let's see, flex fuel. Turn that on. Let's click confirm. And then when I go back to map and other functions, you'll actually see the flex fuel table is there right here. So you can kind of see main fuel injection. Or actually right here, I want to go right here. And this is the wizard that I was talking about right here. So I'm going to plug in the injector data. because if you actually have good injectors, they will come with a data sheet. If they don't come with a data sheet, you basically bought some trash. I'm just going to be completely honest with you, because any reputable fuel injector manufacturer, they will have a sheet like this. And luckily, my buddy over at Fuel Injector Development, a lot of people have really great results with his injectors, as I've also had great results with them. So you can see all these dead times, the voltage table, and then the flow numbers, everything is right there. And then he was even nice enough to give me some connectors. So connectors, the terminals, gaskets, or O-rings, I'm sorry. And then, yeah, O-rings right here. And then a nice sticker, which I'm also happy about. Thank you, Tom. Such a good guy. So something that I am going to do a little bit differently, though, is just in case I run into any issues, because the injectors that are currently in the bike and the injectors that I'm putting in the bike, they actually use two different style connectors. So you can see what this one looks like right here. So look at that. You see those three tangs? So that's what I'm taking out of the bike. And this is what I'm putting in the bike. So two different style connectors. I like making stuff easily reversible and easy to service. So if I do need to throw these injectors back in for any reason, I'm actually just going to make a small little Deutsch pigtail so I can easily just swap them back out if I need to, if I run into a tuning issue or an issue that goes beyond my experience. So I could just put everything back to how it was, because I know the bike is running fine right now on gasoline with these injectors right here, these E211s. I believe they're called E211s. Yeah, So I'm going to get the injector data input, and then I'm going to show you this actual table that the wizard is going to generate based off of the gasoline data and the injector data that I input into the ECU. And then this should clear up a lot of stuff for you guys. All right, so I'm getting the injectors swapped out. I already got the stock injectors out. You can see I just actually ended up just pulling the fuel rail off. It's actually pretty funny too, because this is pretty damn easy getting to this stuff. That's the beauty about these L twins. Everything is just right here. I was trying to get to it through the side, but the bolts for the throttle body are just literally exposed right up here. This is probably like the hardest one right here, but I don't even really want to call it hard, because I just used like an L style Allen wrench and I was able to get in there pretty easy. So got the fuel rail out, got the injectors out, cleaned out the bore because the O-rings were stuck in there. I'm surprised they were sealing, to be honest, because they looked like absolute shit when I pulled them out. So it was easier to pull this off. This one I got all cleaned out, getting ready to put the new ones in, which look like this, like I showed you guys earlier. So double O-ring on the top, big single on the bottom. And then these pigtails are about to get spliced, and I'll be putting a 2-pin Deutsch connector, or sorry, that's the wrong connector, but right here. These will be getting spliced, and then I'll be putting a Deutsch jumper on this just in case if I do want to swap back to the stock injectors if I have a problem for any reason. So you can see the valves in there. But yeah, it's going together pretty good. Luckily, I don't have to pull that throttle body off. That one would probably be a little bit more of a pain in the ass to get off. So vertical one is off. So now I got access to everything. So let's get the new one swapped in, get it primed with fuel. Let me finish this up and then get back to it. And maybe this is also a good opportunity to show more of the actual frame structure, because I do get a lot of people asking if this bike is even really considered a stock Grom. So the only part that's custom on the frame is just this structure. So from back here, where it ties into where the seat mount is, all the way up to the triple tree. And you can see how the Ducati motors, these are actually the main frame tie-ins to the engine. So these are a main engine mount tie-in. So 1, 2, and then 3, and 4, which you can see right there, right behind the radiator. So I am getting this powder coated too, so please do not banter me with telling me to paint the frame and stuff. The bike will probably get stripped down over winter, or I'll probably just end up doing it by hand really neatly, taping everything off. So that is getting painted. painting the frame will not get me out any faster or get any of these modifications done any faster than I'm already doing them. So that is something that'll be done in the downtime. So just wanted to clear that up and then show you guys the frame. But it's really nothing crazy to actually tie this in. I mean, it's just inch and a quarter chromoly tubing and some good TIG welds. So I had to do some impromptu modification. This was kind of an oversight on my part, but I noticed that on both of these injectors, or between the two, the connector on the stock Ducati, which is this purple E211 injector, and the fuel injector, development injector, they both have different height connectors. So you can kind of see how this purple one right here, it sits a little bit higher, and then this black one, it sits lower. So what I had to do, I actually had to, because on the underside of this injector, there's some meat that you can shave off. You can kind of see I went, shaved it off with like a file. So that helped. And then I also took a little bit of material out of the actual throttle body itself. So I did talk to Tom about this beforehand. It's not an issue at all because the injector is like seating on the O-ring perfectly now. And it's also locked in place with like a little tang in the back, and it's a compression fit. So they fit in there perfect now. I did have to clip a little bit of the connector off. So let me grab that. So I had to take the edge of the connector off a little bit, but that still seals up perfectly. So I'll put that on. Let's see. Yeah, so now that snaps on like this. And now everything is ready to go back together. So do have to do a little bit of modification. So they weren't complete drop in, but it wasn't too bad because this is aluminum and it ate through it pretty good. So everything looks good now. So I'm gonna slap the throttle bodies back on, get the entire fuel system back on, and we should be good to go. And then I could jump back into the software. But obviously I want to check for leaks and everything first. So let me do that, and then I'm gonna pan back and go from there. All right, so I got the throttle bodies hooked up, and I do want to take the time to also flex the Moto gadget once again. So what's nice is for troubleshooting, especially stuff like I'm doing now, because the front throttle body, it was a little bit more of a pain to get, or at least one bolt. So I definitely wanted to check this before I reinstalled it. But you can see I got the fuel system hooked back up. It's just a quick disconnect right here, 3/8, or I think it's 5/16 quick disconnect. Fuel rail is all connected. Injectors are in. So what's nice is since the fuel pump is being powered by the actual Moto Gadget PDM, which is right there in the trunk of my bike, I can actually trigger the fuel pump to pressurize the system, and we can check for leaks. So this is very, very, very convenient. So let me turn the fuel pump on and let's see if we got any leaks. So you can see 47 PSI fuel pressure. Looks pretty damn good. Don't see anything leaking. You can see how much amperage the actual circuit is pulling for the fuel pump. So everything looks dry. Everything looks nice and dry. So I would say I am pretty good to reinstall this. So just figured I would show that, because this thing right here is a godsend, especially for this type of stuff. So good to go. Let me get it reinstalled and let's go. All right, guys, so fast forward a little bit. I did have to do a few things on the software, so let me run through this real quick. As you can see, it's wet outside, but I wanted to make this video for you guys. So all right, so first things first, I had to go to map, engine settings, fuel injection, and then I had to change, obviously, the injector size, so 90.5 pounds, and then you have to put in the dead time. So this is also an important step right here. They have a battery voltage compensation table. This is basically where you enter your dead times. So you can see, since I have a 12-volt system, I zeroed it out because it's referencing the value I just showed you on the previous screen. And then with any good injector, let me reiterate that any reputable good injector is going to come with an injector dead time sheet. If it doesn't, do not use them. I mean, there are standard values you can go by, but the larger the injector, the more important this becomes, because this can have a large bearing on drivability, low speed. Like, it's just an important thing that you should input in the ECU. So you can see all of these values are based off of that previous value I showed you. I don't have the sheet in front of me right now, but this is essentially what it came to be based off of that data sheet that they gave me with the injectors. So once that was input, so like I said before, I had 45-pound injectors in this bike. Those were the stock Ducati injectors. I essentially doubled the injectors. So theoretically, if I take 50% out of this table, that should replicate what I was just running on the bike with the 45-pound injectors, because I'm removing half of the injector, because I'm taking 50% out of the map that all of the videos that I've been making for you guys driving on the street. This is the same map. I removed 50% out of it because I doubled the injector size. So let's see what happens. Something that is nice about the Fuel Tech.
Mo ride ready.
You can see I turned on the ECU there, which doesn't matter because it's waterproof. Shameless plug. But one thing that's nice is I can actually start this engine right here on the actual software with this start engine key. It's pretty cool too, because if you have someone remote in into the laptop, like let's say if you have a tuner remote in, they can also do the same thing remotely from the other side of the world. So let me start it and let's see what happens. Oops. So I would say mission accomplished. I just wanted to get back to the same square one where I was before I removed the injectors, because you do not want to go, I've learned this the hard way before, you do not want to go making a bunch of changes. Always try to get back, like if you change injectors, change coil, anything that is detrimental for the engine running, always make sure you can restart it and make sure it starts the same way as before you put that part on. So do things one by one so that way you aren't chasing your tail. So I just wanted to get this bike started running again on gasoline with these larger injectors. I wanted to be able to rev it. No, it is not perfect right now. I need to drive it on the street and actually do some loaded pulls, which I'm going to do tomorrow, and pretty much go from there, make small changes, and then I'm going to generate that E85 map and see if I can get it idling on straight E85. I don't even want to blend yet. I want to get it running on straight E85. I want to see if I'll be able to rev it and pretty much go from there. But I will say, with the minimal changes that I've made, I'm actually pretty impressed with how easy it starts. It actually starts easier with these larger injectors, because I do think with the previous stock Ducati 45-pound injectors that I had, I don't think I had enough fuel while cranking. And this table is a little bit fatter as you saw in the AFR. So I think it's helping quite a bit with that. That's the only sense I can make of it. So, but I would call this a win for now. So let me make some more changes to the map, and then I'm gonna get it filled up with E85 and then go from there. But so far I'm pretty happy. Had to take a quick walk. Woo! Alright guys, so this is pretty much what the fuel injection multiplier looks like. So based off of my gasoline tune, since what I get locally is around E75, all it's pretty much doing is adding 36% of additional fuel on top of that gasoline tune that I was, running on prior, in order to get me to stoic on E85. So pretty simplistic. You can kind of see as the ethanol content goes up, so does the percentage of fuel multiplier, or how much additional fuel is adding to reach stoic. So pretty simple. Mine does still need some tweaks. Like I said, it's not perfect, but that's something that I'm going to dial in. And now that it's getting colder out, I might have to try to go down south or something, or just go to a warmer place so I can get it dialed in sooner than later. But yeah, pretty simple for the most part. All right, so first fill up on E. It's probably closer to like E70. Usually is around this time of the year. Let's see if I can get up here. I got a little bleeder valve that I gotta crack to degas it, because I gotta come up with a better vent solution for the bottom tank. Always get some condensation build up in there. So I need. Still need some work for sure. Anyway, so it seems to run pretty decent on the E85. But I'm gonna keep working on the tune-up. I really don't know how many more days we have for riding in Michigan, because it's so, you know, so it's almost winter time. And yeah, this looks like this because of the condensation. I think I showed you guys earlier, because you start this thing, it's cold outside, it'll like create water behind here, so when I start riding it, it'll go away. But first time I saw that, I got nervous, but it it was fine after I rode around for like 20 minutes. So yeah, this video is packed with a lot of content, so I think I'm gonna end it here. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate the comments. Feel free to drop any questions that you might be wanting to know in the comments. And subscribe if you already haven't. Follow the Instagram. Follow the TikTok. Both same name that I have on here, _street sweeper. And then I'll also leave it in the description. But yeah, until next time, guys. But appreciate everybody watching, and ride safe. Have a good one.